Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's summertime. I'm John Gray in a short sleeve shirt and a straw hat. It's that time of year. Memorial Day was yesterday. God bless all of our veterans and folks who've served our country, and to where we can sit up here and have a big time.
Hi, John. I'm Peggy Burton.
Hi, Peggy Burton. Yeah, I remember you.
I'm sitting right here with you. Yesterday, a very special day.
Wasn't it?
I think sometimes we forget that Memorial Day is for the dead, the people that lost their lives in the war. And we love all our veterans, but those that have sacrificed and given every ounce of life's energy for us.
Right.
We need to always be thankful.
And anyway, we need to also carry that a little bit further, in that we have a big problem with our veterans now, the suicide rate, the homeless rate, and we don't want those people to become part of that list.
It's part of that list, you're right.
Because we can help them. They can be helped, and if you have an opportunity, buy into the Wounded Warrior Program. Any way that you can help fund the care for a veteran who needs care, please do it.
PTSD is rampant in returning veterans, and it's also rampant in society. I mean, many people have traumatic experiences that affect them forever, and I encourage people to get with a mental health center and don't be afraid to tell your story, because I think it's important.
Well, and that kind of leads into one of our guests today. We have an audience, Lee Deckelman over here, and his story is a story that needs to be told, and he's telling it. I've got his book right here, and we're gonna come. He's gonna come up. We're gonna talk about his book, and you never know. You never know where people come and what path they have to lead through life to get where they are.
That's right.
A lot of times you see people and they come into your life, and all you see is what's in front of you. And what's in front of you is a product of everything they've had to go through in their life.
Life is a journey.
It is a journey.
And you have to decide which turn to take many times, and it's not always easy. But sometimes you just have to make a choice.
And you never make the right choice. Well, you don't always make the right choice, but it leads you to where you are.
You don't have to make the right choice. Sometimes any choice is better than no choice.
Oh, of course, I agree.
You have to learn to make a choice, and then you have to live with it.
That's right.
And hopefully you'll get a lesson from it if it was the wrong road.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been on a few of those roads.
Have you?
I have traveled
Peggy.
Many a mile.
We've both traveled many a mile, and had a lot of fun, and had a little heartache and a little heartbreak and
a little heartburn.
And a little heartburn. Yeah, a little heartburn. Depends on, well, now you probably had more heartburn than I have, because physically you've traveled more and been in many locations around the world, because your husband was in the military, and so you got a chance to have heartburn in a lot of different locations that I never had an opportunity to go to.
Yeah, I think the fact that I left my people when I got married was good for me, because I had to learn I couldn't go whining home,
Well, you don't seem like you were probably never that way anyway.
But no, I was not a whiner. I'm still not a whiner, but I was just
You're a doer.
You have to face whatever it is, and you can pray all you want to, and that's a wonderful thing, but some of it's got to be on you.
Oh yeah, you can either whine or do.
That's a good one. You can write a book on that.
One or the other, whine or do. Peggy does. She doesn't whine. She goes, okay.
I try not to.
Here's what we're going to do about that. And you said something that was really, making decisions. Any decision's better than no decision.
Any decision's better than no decision, because you're going to meet that a lot of times in life, and you can't whine about it if it was the wrong decision.
One of my favorite people, I don't get to see him as often as I'd like to, and a very astute and smart young man, is your son, Bart Burton.
He's a good man.
And he told me one time, and of course a lot of this has to do with his military background, is never forget the command forward.
Yeah.
You can do nothing going backward.
You're right.
The only thing you can do in effect is forward.
Go forward. And don't stand still.
Very smart,
too long.
very smart man. Bart Burton for president. I've been saying that for the last 10 years. I'd love to see him run this country.
It would be interesting.
It would be wonderful.
He would make them get up and get out.
They'd get up and go, I'll guarantee you. If they thought Trump emptied the swamp, wait and see what Bart would do to it. You either work or you're gone.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's a busy man, and I admire him.
Well, I do too.
I'm real proud of him.
He's been places that folks don't want to talk about. Sort of like that movie where they bring the guy up from Jack Nicholson up from down there in Quantico or wherever it is, and bring him up there, and he says, "You don't want to talk about what I have to do."
Oh,
you know, to make at parties, I'm a punchline, but without me standing on that wall, of course, that doesn't give you, as the movie showed, doesn't give you carte blanche to do anything you want to.
I'm sorry I missed the military thing at the caboose yesterday.
Memorial, yeah. We have some film of that.
I'm so glad, because I had a few family issues I needed to deal with, and I was very sorry that I couldn't be there, because I'm real proud of that.
Oh yeah, it's a very, very, very good deal. And Sandy Sebring is to be commended.
Yes, she is.
She's worked tirelessly, and a lot of times singly. She's had a lot of help, but she's one of those people like you. If somebody doesn't do it by the time she thinks it needs to be done, I don't care what it is, she goes and does it herself.
She gets it done.
Yeah, and so you can't do anything but show respect and gratitude for people like that.
I know. I've got Blossom Merriman on the set
You do?
today.
I saw Blossom walk in.
She's coming up to talk about the museum and some activities going on.
Well, and she blew in here all the way from War Trace.
All the way from War Trace, and she won't tell you this, but I will. Blossom's father was killed in the war, Second World War. Is that correct? And so she didn't know her father.
She's one of those people.
She's one of those children, and when I watched the concerts the other night on PBS, there was a young girl about 19 that spoke about never having known her father. All she had was pictures. And that was so touching to me, because there's thousands and thousands of children that are in that position. And they have served their time, let me tell you.
Well, you know, and when you, I watched a movie, Saving Private Ryan. That's one of my favorite. I like that movie. I like Tom Hanks. Anything Tom Hanks does, I like to watch. We just got through watching News of the World, the new movie he has, which is an incredible movie.
That's probably really good.
And it showed those people landing on Normandy, landing on those beaches, and coming out of those sea convey, and just slaughtered
right there.
Slaughtered, thousands and thousands of them, just slaughtered.
I know I've told this before, but
horrible.
My brother-in-law was one of those thrown on top of a pile of dead people, and some doctor saw him blink his eye, and he said, "I'm going to save this one," and that's always touched me, because he did save him.
Yeah.
He spent like 3 years being reconstructed and building his face, and I just don't think there's any horror worse than war. You don't get a lot of...
No.
I think of doctors. I remember telling one, "Look at the experience you have," and he says, "I'm not going to need this kind of experience." I mean, I'm talking about during the military years.
Sure.
That you just don't get those kind of injuries usually back at home.
No, heavens no.
Anyway, it's tragic, and I think it's good for us to remember. We've got to remember.
Yeah, we do. And we've got to remember by being positive and doing good things and making sure that that doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
You know, I was watching a movie the other day. I watch a lot of movies. I like movies because I get ideas from movies, and it's The Fifth Element. And at one point, this girl who plays the Fifth Element is watching TV for the first time, and she goes through and watches. She types war in on the computer and watches all this devastation, and tears just start flowing down her face because what she saw was just devastating.
You know, we are the generation that watched the Gulf Wars on TV. That was tough.
Yeah.
You know your son is right there marching into God only knows what.
And your son was right there.
He was right there.
He was right there.
Anyway.
Tony Soprano of Baghdad.
You written this?
This is something I want to read in excuse me, a little bit of preparation of Lee coming up here, because Lee Deckelman is a unique, special, wonderful individual. And Lee has a book, and we'll talk about that later, but you need to go out and buy this book. It's from a kid who experienced young life here in Tullahoma and many other places in ways that you don't really understand. Like you say, when you see this young man now, what's in front of you is something that he made it through. A lot of people wouldn't have made it through
that's a great story.
What he made through. But here's something I want to read for Lee before he gets up here. It's funny how people give advice when they don't know you at all, and when you don't do what they tell you to, they say you're going to fall. Well, you can take you can't take what runs your soul and put it on a shelf, so tell that self-appointed son of a bitch, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. I don't want your advice. Keep it to yourself. The road I walk in search of a dream is worth the sacrifice, and all the rules that work for you are really of no help. So take that lecture meant for me and keep it to yourself. I search for reassurance in an open mind, a soul that soars, a mouse that roars, a walk across the line, and all my traits that scare you are benign. So keep it to yourself. I don't want your advice. The road I walk in search of a dream is worth the sacrifice, and all the rules that work for you are really of no help. So take that lecture meant for me and keep it to yourself. Yeah, take that lecture meant for me and keep it to yourself. Tough words, but it's a tough life, you know? We'll be back after these messages.
Clayton's has been Tullahoma's shoe store for over 120 years, and Florence Hall continues that tradition today. We're the only shoe store in town that starts with measuring your foot to make sure you get the perfect fit in a quality shoe. That includes narrow through wide widths for men, women, and children. Clayton Shoes, the family shoe store you'll love.
We're gonna fit your style. We're gonna make you smile. Service and quality at Clayton Shoe Store. We're gonna fit your style.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
History about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat, with John and Pat, with John and Pat.
Hello everyone, I'm John Rickman. And I am Pat Welch, and John, we're here today for segment 68 of the Conversations with John and Pat.
It's wonderful to be here.
That's it, 68's going to be great.
And the song I'm going to sing is one that we've done before. It's called Swapping Knives. An old man here in Tullahoma one time, he said, son, don't don't try to treat me this way. I don't make any money on my knives. I just like to trade. Well, this is a song.
Trade and take.
Well, I was bumming around in Lewisburg, getting kind of hot and tired. So I took a seat beneath the big shade tree in the Marshall County Courthouse yard. There was men standing round in overalls, their pockets filled with merchandise. They was chewing tobacco, whittling cedar, telling jokes and swapping knives. Well, an old man walked up to me, carving on a piece of wood. Said, "Hey, young feller, how you trade on knives?" And the one he had looked good. Well, I looked it over and I gave it back. He said, "Hold on, son, I got more." He pulled out a sack filled with knives. He looked like a walking store, and it's what he said. "What do you give me for a tree brand boker with a tree on every blade? Here's a John D. Primble and a genuine Barlow, and I ain't a kissing crane. Here's a double X case and an old hen rooster, a queen and an old time charade. I make no money on my knives, I just like to trade." Well, I reached down into my blue jeans and I pulled out my old knife. I figured that it wasn't worth too much, I'd carried it half my life. But when he offered me a brand new knife for my old piece of blade, I thought to myself, "You old fool, yes sir, it's a deal, I'll trade." Well, the old man kind of chuckled as he walked away from me. He didn't have nothing to laugh about as far as I could see. But when I saw a fella give him $100 for that old knife of mine, I recollected every word in that old knife swapper's line. Here's what he said. "What do you give me for a tree brand boker with a tree on every blade? Here's a Gin D. Primble and a genuine Barlow, and I ain't a kissing crane. Here's a double X case and an old hen rooster, a queen and an old time charade. I make no money on my knives, I just like to trade." You old liar, you. Wrote that a long time ago, Pat.
John, I believe you took lessons from that guy because there was a time period where you used surplus and returned and damaged goods from the builder's supply and made dog houses.
You know.
And a lot of times, your whole attitude with the prospective customer was, "I'm not making any money on these dog houses. I just want your dog to be warm and dry."
You know, I think I've given up all my whatever I might have owned at that time as far as being able to trade. I think I've lost all that ability.
Lost the art?
I think
well, you got to practice it.
I get taken almost every time now. Today, we're talking about license plates. And what I remember and what Pat remembers are back before in 1957 is when Tennessee went to rectangular plates. But before that, the plates looked like the outline of the state of Tennessee. And put up that first picture, Philip, if you don't mind. That is a picture of me as a little tyke, and my mother had a camera, and I guess today she would be on the iPhone or whatever taking pictures of all the family. She did take a lot of pictures of us. And that's, my daddy was putting on a license plate on the back of our old car. And I guess she said, "Put this on your daddy's back." So that's what I did. And so she took a
that's
picture
great,
of me.
John.
And if you can tell, you can see my dad has a little male pattern baldness there.
Just a little.
And I
What's wrong with that?
I should have been worried right at that time, knowing that was coming. But what's wrong with that? But my dad, he was down on his knee there trying to put those plates on, and there was a time when the plates went on the front and the back of the car.
For a long time.
I put down some thoughts here about the Tennessee plates are the most desirable plates in the world, so I was told. They weren't sold between
in the before the rectangulars. Those were the desired plates.
Yeah,
huh.
Yeah. Between 1943 and 1945, they weren't sold, and then again in 1954 for whatever reason. I guess the war was the reason they didn't
want to use the extra metal. The metal was going in the bullets.
That's right. And then in 1957 they went to rectangular. And before that time, they were shaped in the form of Tennessee. And in my youth, the plates had a number that signified the county. And in your youth as well.
In that same way, yeah.
And Marshall County was number 32. That meant we were the 32nd largest county in the state, and
I believe we were 24.
You were, is what I remember. And the smallest
Moore County is 95.
And you know, there was, you said that, you told me that, but I have...
we're going to have a dispute right here, aren't we?
Yeah, I had Van Buren as number 95, but that's disputed. Memphis was number 1. Nashville, I think, was 2 at that time.
Which would be Shelby and Davidson.
Yes, right. And if we were done him the same way today, Nashville would be number 1 because they're the largest city now, and county. There were special plates manufactured for motorbikes, motorcycles, farm vehicles, commercial plates, and they were marked with a C.
I imagine you're going to get to Coach Carden here before too much longer, but I did see he had some motorcycle tags, I believe, that were in the outline of the state too.
Yes,
didn't
he did. And he had quite a collection at one time, and went lots of places collecting them. And the license plate I thought most interesting, though, was the plate of 1951. If you would put that up, Philip. Now, the license plate of 1951 is what color, Pat?
It was orange with the outline being white. And that was because in 1951, UT was national champions.
Consensus
Football.
College football champions. And who coached the Vols that year?
General Neyland.
That is right. And they were 10-0 in the regular season, but in the Sugar Bowl they were beaten by Maryland 13-28, and I guess they announced them as national champions prior to that game.
That happened several times. We've talked about that too. And finally, I think Alabama ended up doing that in '65, and they played in the Orange Bowl against Texas and got beat. Some people think that they shouldn't have been beat because Joe Namath came in with a gimpy leg and had a quarterback sneak. That there were so many people piled up you couldn't tell where the ball was, and he swears that his waist was at the goal line, that he'd scored, and they took the score off, and so they got beat, but they had won the national championship because they didn't take another vote. Well, the next year they were going to vote after the bowl games to keep that from happening, and the top 3 teams got beat that day. Alabama was 4th, and they beat Nebraska, I believe, in one of the bowls, and that made them national champions. So whatever happened there, the people that were not Alabama fans were not real happy with how that got worked.
And I could tell there was a lot of sour grapes about Joe Namath not making over the goal line. You seemed to be bitter about that.
Did it show?
Yes, a little bit. And then you were so happy when you told about them coming in the other way.
Well, they still won.
What kind of offense did they run?
They were single wing big time.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. And we talked about that with Coach Cooper, and his last season would have been 50. He missed that national championship by one season. He played on some fine teams.
Now, there was a player for the University of Tennessee in 1951, and I happened to meet him one time. Put his picture up there, Doug. That's Doug Atkins, and Doug Atkins was from Humboldt, Tennessee, West Tennessee, and he went to UT. And he was a part of that team. I think you knew some others that were on that team, but the reason I sang the knife swapping song, our little group, us two and him, played at the Knife Collectors Association one year and National Association meeting, and he was there. And they presented him a knife. And I read a little bit about Doug Atkins just to find out a little something about him. Being from Humboldt.
How old do you think he was in that picture there? When was that picture taken?
I'd say 50s. I'd say it was, well, I might be wrong, but that was about 1985, I'd say.
He was one of the first really big linemen that was in good shape, too.
Yeah.
He had almost no stomach and was way over 6 feet and could absolutely fly. They said he was a real good basketball player.
He played center on the state championship team there at Humboldt. And he went to UT on a basketball scholarship, as I understand. And then General Neyland got him to come out for football. Well, he was 6'8", well, he might have been this weight when he was pro ball, but he was 6'8", 257 pounds. and he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns traded him. I'm not sure how long he was there, and then they traded him. But after they traded, one of the 10 worst trades in the history of pro football was Doug Atkins being traded to another team.
Well, he was some kind of player, and let's see, Applebee's used to have some old memento pictures, and he was in one of them in that corner of the end zone before they closed both ends. And was on one knee by himself. And I'm telling you, he looked like he was built like he was 150 pounds, but he weighed 250 and was 6'8". He was some kind of monster.
He was as you remember, Bob Neyland, General Neyland, was a strict disciplinarian. Haywood Harris said of General Neyland, the common thread that runs through the 1951 team is the love and respect combined with a healthy dose of fear. The players expressed toward General Neyland, and I'm going to save a couple of other pictures for another segment I have on another subject.
Well,
so,
sometimes we've got a good story that Coach Cooper told me one time about discipline from the general that didn't involve him, but involved one of his teammates.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to our story about license plate and Doug Atkins.
And that is segment 68's in the books.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully we've got more stories to tell if management will allow them. Thank y'all.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat. With John and Pat. With John and Pat.
What does caring look like? This is what caring looks like.
This is setting an example for others.
This is rising to the challenge.
This is doing what works.
This is doing my part.
This is doing your part.
Each of us individually.
Acting as one. Keeping your distance, no matter how awkward it may seem.
This is wearing a mask.
Over your nose and mouth.
Like we are. Keeping our distance.
Each wearing masks.
Not under your chin.
Not above your head.
Not in your hand. But over your nose and mouth.
This is listening to the expert. If you'll just wear one of these.
Caring makes community.
And this is what caring looks like.
Until COVID-19 is no longer a threat.
Until COVID-19 is no longer a threat.
Until COVID-19 is no longer a threat.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
Now open in Tullahoma, Parkview Senior Living, an affordable, luxurious retirement community that active seniors love to call home. We encourage a healthy, independent lifestyle with few restrictions. Abundant amenities mean you live burden-free in a beautiful, safe home with other like-minded seniors. Still enjoy friends and family, along with your supplemental healthcare needs. See for yourself how wonderful retirement can be. Tour Parkview Senior Living today.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, folks, we're back, and I made mention of my friend Lee Deckelman, and he's on stage with me right now, and this is his new book right here, and that's what we're here to talk about. And the title of that book is Internal Volume. And Lee, your story is an incredible story. From a young man and all the things that you went through, to being in special forces in the military, to now being a yoga instructor.
That's right.
And just lead us a little bit through the book and why you wrote the book. It takes me back. If you're a Tullahoma person, of course, Lee's been in numerous different places throughout his life, but a lot of this book takes place in Tullahoma. Mm-hmm. And there are principals and teachers and areas and spaces and folks you talk about that helped you on your journey in numerous ways. Everything from getting that butt torn up with a paddle to getting a second chance.
There you go.
You know, getting a second chance. Being a small guy, small kid. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times small kids get picked on, and you had to learn to be pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So give us a little rundown on
Well, I'd like to start out by saying the cover art is Annie Roan from The Painted House.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful. And so to me that's the most beautiful part of the book. I think wanting to write a book always felt like a really narcissistic goal, and I struggled with it, even though people told me for years I probably should. I never really felt like my life was a book. And about 6 years ago, Derek Crownover, who I went to school with, who's a very successful lawyer in Nashville, was mentoring me a little bit, and he said, you know, if you could write a book about your life story and get some notoriety, it will help your foundation. So the real answer, it's not really sexy, is the reason I wrote my life story in a book was to try to help the foundation, to bring awareness to people like me, to how yoga has helped me, and just use my life story as honestly as I could, about the highs and the lows, and hopefully that book becomes a tool to help me better provide free yoga to all who suffer, veterans, widows,
so
kids.
that explain the foundation.
Okay.
What exactly is, I know we've talked about it before, but we might have a whole new audience out here today. And the foundation is?
Absolutely. Be Yoga Strong Foundation I started in January of 2020, and it's to provide free yoga, and not the perfect pose on your cell phone in a pose, not the narcissistic marketing side of the westernized yoga. I'm talking about the origins of yoga. I'm talking about going deeper than a beautiful pose. You could be a serial killer and do beautiful poses and be on magazines. What we're doing is the origins of yoga, which is the mindfulness. It's what you find in most large religions. You find definitely in the Hindu religion, but before religion got connected to yoga, yoga was a tool to help with the suffering on earth. It was a different way of thinking and behaving and processing. And the title of the book, Internal Volume, is just my play on words. Right. I think about the inside of my chest or my stomach or my mind as a volume knob. And when it's on zero, when you're on zero, you're in heaven. I mean, you don't have a care in the world. You're in your parasympathetic response. You're calm. You're not under any stress. Your mind is quiet. You know, when we talk about letting go, we're talking about shutting up. That's the start. You have to get quiet. You can't be loud and be mindful. They don't go together. It doesn't matter how dynamic your personality is. If you really want to calm down and settle and get healthy and connect, you have to get quiet, and you have to get vulnerable, and you have to get soft. And that's scary. That freaks people out. And so everybody's not ready for the therapeutic type of yoga that I'm doing, but that's what I'm doing. And so the people that are ready for that, you know, we're working on providing free yoga. And right now we're in transition. COVID did a lot.
Do you think looking at a lot of the ways that yoga is represented, that most people see in movies, in advertising, you know, there's 2 gals or 3 gals or 5 gals with their yoga mats, and it's more like an exercise class.
Absolutely.
You know, they're talking about going to pick up the kids, and instead of, I think that's how it's represented.
Well, it is because it's marketed. It is because if you want to open a yoga studio in America and you make people be quiet and be mindful, people aren't going to pay for that unless they're ready. And there's a lot of people that just aren't ready. I mean, you have to really have to have enough. You have to be at a point where you're like, I'm ready to try something different. And this isn't, you know, I'm not selling. What I'm selling is free. Yeah. And it's been around for people in India say for 15,000 years. You know, the practice of yoga in its origins. That mindset of being calm and getting your internal volume down to a 0.
But the thing about it is that's so interesting here, and you said what I'm selling is free. Our society are so used to putting a dollar figure on something that's important. Yeah. And the more the car costs, the better a car it is. Yeah. And to be able to get people to understand that what you're giving is an opportunity to change the way you are for free.
I think so. I think it's a mental health superpower if you practice it in line with what I'm doing. I'm not saying exactly what I'm doing. I'm saying in that direction.
Sure.
Then I think it's a mental health superpower. What it's done, it has transformed me as a person. And not from some weird, crazy place. It's a process. I mean, it's a daily walk just like anything else. And but I spell it out in that book.
Well,
that book isn't just a way for me to try to make money because 50% of the profits go to charity. That book's a how-to, in my opinion, to sort yourself out if you've had a lot of trauma in your life, and at the end of the day, you actually want to be a good person. But you want to do something different. It's a good how-to.
You had to be. I mean, you were beat as a kid. Mm-hmm. You were homeless as a kid.
Yeah. The thing is, those aren't the hardest memories. You know what I mean? That's the crazy part.
As a kid, you deal with it. You find a way to deal with it.
Right.
But you've been through many situations in your life where you had a feeling, and I didn't have time to read all of it. Lee gave me this book Sunday.
Yeah.
No, Saturday.
Yeah. I gave you a homework assignment.
It's a homework assignment.
Yeah.
And I usually don't scan stuff, and I read like I'm having a conversation with somebody, so I don't just blow through a book. I read, because when I get through reading it, I retain it.
Right.
You have gone through phases where you gave all you could give, and at the end of the situation, you've been defeated. You've been left. You've been walked out on. You've been kicked out. You've been handcuffed. But yet, I want to congratulate you as a as a strong individual, you know, a whole lot of people wouldn't have continued and gotten through the life that you had to live. You had to be tough. You fought a lot, didn't you?
There's nothing wrong with being tough.
No, there's not.
There's nothing wrong with having some fight in your kindness. I think kindness should come from a position of strength. But I know you're giving me a compliment, and I appreciate that.
Well,
John.
it is. As I read this book, I'm going, you know, when's this kid going to get a break?
Yeah, I'm getting one right now.
And
you just don't give up. And
yeah.
I think to answer what you're saying, not that you're asking something, but when I think about every scenario in life, you know, I can use this filter or anything just like it, but it's this simple for me. When that wildebeest, when its hind leg gets caught by that crocodile, it has two choices. And you always have two choices in life, no matter what the scenario is. And that's you're going to fight and not give up, or you're going to turn into it and let it chew you up and spit you out, or come out the other end. So, so for me, I don't know that it was toughness, or it wasn't an option to do anything else.
Right.
So I don't know how much credit
but some people choose the other option.
Sure, for whatever reason.
But you know, you, as many of our military people, you were in special forces, to the toughest of the tough. You're with a group of guys and possibly girls. I didn't read through.
Not back then. I don't know what they're doing now, but no. Not that it matters.
No, not that it matters. But so you have, it's sort of like this one story of a guy who flies a $1 billion jet aircraft. He gets out of the military and he comes back home and he can't get a job flipping hamburgers. You know, we have a problem with our military coming back, and these are young men and women who have been put in charge of $1 million pieces of equipment, or the lives of villages. And when they come back home, all of a sudden, you know, there's nothing for them to do where they feel like they have any respect at all.
Yeah. Well, the Lee Deckelman answer at 55 years old is there's no money in it. If there was money in helping veterans, they'd be getting help. There's no money in it. If you really follow and remove all the biases, if something doesn't make money, doesn't matter how important it is, it doesn't seem to
get done.
It doesn't seem to, it just doesn't seem to happen, and it gets lost in all the rhetoric or all the noise, all the noise. But that's the real awakening is when you slow down. You have to let go of the noise. You have to let go of the news and all that. You have to let go of all the busy, which is the ego. But it's a lot easier for me to think of my ego as just all the busy. Me stuff and you stuff and what about this stuff and I can picture this and that and the other. It's like that's suffering. So when you do that, when you're daydreaming, you're doing all that stuff and you're back and forth in your mind and you're killing time in your mind. When they do the science, you're in a part of your brain associated with suffering. So the science proves what they've known for thousands of years with mindfulness and yoga. So I'm practicing it for free. It's like, so you're telling me I can feel better if I just start taking a little bit more control over the way I act and think, and I'm all on board. And so, that all started with a diet and, just an inside approach towards, getting in a better place.
How can people get this book?
The only way you can get that is on Amazon.com. So, and 50% goes to the foundation to hopefully build our own studio soon, somewhere in Coffee County. But Amazon. Go to Amazon.com, and it's available in paperback or ebook.
There it is, right there.
And
buy it, find this young man, talk to him.
So
visit him.
So I'm teaching, but it's not free right now. But I'm teaching at Tullahoma CrossFit, Fit 10 on Wednesdays. in Winchester at Bar Fly on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All those are evening night classes. And then the last Thursday of every month, I do a free class at the Bedford County Library, and I think this coming month it'll be outdoors. If people are interested in that, they just go to their Facebook page. I'm not on any social media or anything like that anymore, but...
Well, I want to end this by telling you that no matter what age you are, we all go through stuff. And a lot of times it takes us longer than it should to leave the stuff behind. And this is a piece that I wrote that that I've given to Lee, and this came to me in 2017. That's 60-something years old. It finally showed up. And it will show up for you if you open your mind to good things. A path uphill is successfully traveled by steadily placing one foot in front of the other. A prophet I met in a dream along the way smiled as he slowly passed and said, "Go softly through life and find peace." Beautiful. And you used that word soft a minute ago. Yeah. Go softly through life and find peace. Find him and you'll find peace. Lee Deckelman. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you very much. We'll be back after these messages.
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me at Life Care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
The individuals with dementia, those with Parkinson's, those that have maybe mobility issues, need caregivers. Well, those caregivers are 24 hours a day at home, and they never get a rest. And if they have to go to work, they're kind of out of luck. So that's why Trinity came into existence 25 years ago, to allow the caregivers to have a safe center where they could put their loved ones, know they would be well cared for, stimulated, fed good nutritious meals, have activities to their level, and then the caregiver can stop by and pick them up and go on home and have some continuity into their life.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. It's a Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
ladies and gentlemen, this past Friday there was an event downtown at the Memorial Park, and we had Colonel Beverly Lee was on the show last week with her helper there, and we Sandy Sebring. Senior moment, excuse me, Sandy, to promote this. And so what we did is we have a film of Beverly's speech at that event.
Thank you for inviting me, Sandy, during this dedication on Memorial Day weekend at this beautiful park on absolutely a beautiful day. And our city owes a ample gratitude for you in doing this, the Shady Grove Garden Club, for creating these veteran pavers and this veteran history park. It's wonderful. They serve as a reminder that even our small town has sent courageous men and women to defend our nation's freedom. You know, Memorial Day is unlike any other day. Since 1868, we've come together in our communities, cities, and towns to place flowers and flags on the graves of those who have given their full last measure to service of our country. We've come here today to reflect, remember, and honor those who've done their duty, paid the ultimate sacrifice, and asked for nothing in return. If we want to take a moment just to reflect on the meaning of Memorial Day, we would be reminded that it was once called Decoration Day. It was called Decoration Day because families and friends of the fallen from the Civil War would come together and put flowers on the graves of the brave men and women, flowers and wreaths. It was officially commemorated on May 30th in 1868 at Arlington National Cemetery. It was a date not selected because it was an anniversary of any particular battle, but because flowers would be in bloom throughout our nation. It was a time of renewal. In 1971, the name was changed to Memorial Day. It's not a day to honor the living, quite the contrary. It's a day to honor the dead. It's not a day to commemorate any particular war. It's a day to celebrate the valor and the patriotism and to commemorate the lives of over 1,345,600 men and women. It is a reminder of the cost of war. Today, like it or not, America is engaged in conflict with irrational extremists and evil, some savage and some very sophisticated, whose objectives are to kill the people in our nation's homeland. They shout death to America, and in many cases, some want to dominate our lives. In my 30 years of service, I have found that our military is truly one of the nation's most noble professions. Thank God we still have brave young men and women who want to serve in uniform. They volunteer to do the most basic and cherished responsibility of our nation, to defend this nation and its people. They are the greatest of their generation. They're the salt of the earth, sons and daughters of the policemen, firemen, other military members, nurses and doctors, factory and service workers, and farmers. They are the very best our nation produces. And they're only 1% of our population. We come here today to also remember that it's the soldier that salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag. For their service to this country is the greatest service of all. During the Great War, otherwise known as the War to End All Wars, or World War I, Canadian Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae served as a brigade surgeon for an Allied artillery unit. McCrae gave voice to the fallen soldiers in his poem from Flanders, in Flanders Fields. He wrote it May 3rd, 1915, the day after presiding over the funeral and burial of a good friend, Lieutenant Alexis Helmer. The poem was written as he sat on the back of an ambulance where he spotted wild red poppies in the foreground. And they were between the crosses marking the graves of Flanders on the spoiled earth of that battlefield. And I'm going to remind you of that poem. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard, and the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, with failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. They beckon us to continue the fight. They who passed the torch, and they ask us not to break faith, for they have given their all. A young American volunteer YMCA worker, Moina Michael, read that poem in the November 1918 edition of the Ladies' Home Journal. She was so moved she vowed to keep the faith, and from that day she would wear a red poppy of Flanders Fields as a sign of remembrance. I want to thank the American Legion Women's Auxiliary for being here with those red poppies. They have the poppy flower and a packet of seeds of those wild red poppies for those who wish to honor a loved one, to remember and help this organization help our veterans. Which brings me to the last point. We are here to honor. We must respect their service and their sacrifice. You know, 8 years ago, Marine Corps General John Kelly reflected on his experiences with the families of the fallen, meeting them at Dover Air Force Base or at the grave sites at Arlington National Cemetery. He would often be quietly asked, was it worth it? Was it worth the life of someone they brought into the world, raised and nurtured so lovingly, and looked so much forward to meeting their husbands and wives and having those grandchildren to spoil? General Kelly never tried to answer that question. He said he couldn't. It was impossible to understand the immensity of their loss. And then one day, he received the news in his foyer, in his own home, from a casualty officer executing his sacred duty, notifying him that his son, First Lieutenant Robert Michael Kelly, had been killed in action while stepping on a landmine while leading a platoon of soldiers, of Marines, on a patrol in Afghanistan. General Kelly then asked himself the same question, over and over again, desperately trying to convince himself it was all worth something. He worked hard, believing that his son's life was worth the sacrifice on the altar of America's freedom. As he buried his son in Arlington at Section 60, gravesite 9480, General Kelly said it all came to him at that moment, that it didn't matter what the living thought. The only thing that mattered was that his son and what his son thought. And somewhere between the day his son Robert was born at 21:30, 5 September 1985, and 7:19 on the 9th of November in 2010, it was Robert that decided to risk everything, even his life, in service of his country. To our Gold Star families, you honor us with your presence. You need no reminder. You carry on each day with pictures on the mantels and mementos of lives that were never fully lived. Your courage and your grace are inspiring. We are grateful for the support you gave your soldier and their mission of protecting the rest of us, and to their service to a world that still depends so much on American men and women in uniform for its security. We should strive to live up to the example set by such selfless patriots each and every day. Courage is said to be contagious. We must tell their stories and spread the inspirational lessons of duty, honor, integrity, commitment, courage, and character. We must search our hearts and not only remember the heroes, but contemplate what type of country we want our children to live in. We need to create a country worthy of such sacrifice and leave this republic better than when we received it. Every name on these pavers served with pride, joy, a sense of commitment, and camaraderie, but most of all, they served with honor. And to the veterans here today who recall their buddies lost in battle or in years since, thank you for your service. God bless those deployed in harm's way, providing us the opportunity to enjoy this beautiful day and be in our great nation. And God bless our great nation during these challenging times, and God bless each one and every one of you. Thank you.
Now open in Tullahoma, Parkview Senior Living, an affordable, luxurious retirement community that active seniors love to call home. We encourage a healthy, independent lifestyle with few restrictions. Abundant amenities mean you live burden-free in a beautiful, safe home with other like-minded seniors. Still enjoy friends and family, along with your supplemental health care needs. See for yourself how wonderful retirement can be. Tour Parkview Senior Living today.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up, but without even flinching. That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
Hello, I'm Ray Noas, and as mayor of Tullahoma, I'm strongly urging all of our citizens to follow the guidelines of CDC in helping control this virus, COVID-19. But I'm especially advising all of us to wear face coverings or masks anytime we're in a social setting where we can't maintain a distance of 6 feet or more. So be kind to your neighbor. Wear your mask.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Today we're involved in history and museum and saving things, and I have with me Blossom Merriman, who is the curator of the museum at South Jackson Civic Center. And if you haven't seen it, you need to come to an event, and it's usually open during the events, right?
Yes.
And check out our local museum, which has some fabulous things.
We hope so.
You want to just give us a little rundown on what is in the museum?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, as I had to tell someone one day, when they said, oh, you don't have a whatever, which it's, I don't remember now what it was. And I said, oh, would you like to give us one? And they said, oh, well, we don't have one either. And I said, well, we don't have a budget to buy things.
Right.
We can't go on eBay if we see. Now, I've only done that one time.
Really?
Yes, I saw something that was definitely from Tullahoma's history.
Oh,
and
cool.
I grabbed the phone and made a little bid on eBay. I think it cost $15. But it was something about Northern Field. That was where the pilots trained during World War II, which is now incorporated in Tullahoma, and you know where William Northern Field. William Northern, I'm often asked, why has it got that name? William Northern was the first casualty from Tennessee.
In World War II. I didn't know that myself.
Yeah, I had to ask, I had to research it, but he was the first casualty. He was not from here.
Okay.
And so he was the first the one that they know of from Tennessee. At least that was what I was told.
In World War II.
In World War II, yeah.
That's
William
amazing.
Northern. And so the field.
He must have been a pilot.
He was, yeah.
Right.
And I don't know any more about him other than his name is still on the field where it ought to be.
And we have a wonderful Northern Field.
We do.
And we're proud
We
of it,
absolutely
flying in
do.
Jets and everything else.
Oh,
now.
absolutely. We've got an aviation focus, have we not?
Yes, we do.
Yes, in many aspects. But we also have a. In the early days, we had a train focus because guess what, folks? If you had a railroad running, you knew you were going to be big stuff because roads were nothing.
Roads were
and
nothing.
railroads were everything. So Tullahoma was...
Had a railroad running through it.
You doggone right. In fact, put it through it.
Yeah.
On purpose in order to sell lots and things and grow a little town, you know, as per little towns spring up along major transportation routes.
Right.
Does that not make sense? Okay. And every time somebody gets stopped, I live in Ward Trace now. I lived in Tullahoma for 36 years. And my children and everybody went to school here. And we were, you know, proud of that. And now none of us are here, but we come and go all the time.
Come and go.
And the railroad was instrumental, and Tullahoma is a town company establishment. 5 guys who wanted to do something got together and formed a town company, which was the way you had to like incorporate before you did something back
do you know
in
who those 5 guys
1850. Yeah, oh sure, their names are on our streets.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
So Lincoln?
I do.
Is that
No.
no?
No. Volney.
Okay.
Volney Stevenson was one of the town company guys, and he was the railroad guy, as I remember, that had a big interest in the railroads. And Deckard, Benjamin Deckard, and the 2 Anderson brothers, and John Anderson and Pierce Butler Anderson, who was one of the first casualties from Tennessee in the Civil War.
In the Civil War.
In the Civil War. And both of the Anderson brothers are buried out in the cemetery there at Wilson Avenue.
So they formed a group. And
a town company. So in Tennessee you had to be like incorporated in order to start a I don't want to use the word.
I think it's still that way.
Incorporated, but you got to show the government something before you just plop down and say, okay, this is going to be a place we're going to develop. And in this book, this was a book that we published way back. This is Homecoming '86, which was a huge
Historic
event in
Tullahoma.
Tennessee. Yep. And here we have some examples of trains being big deals.
Yeah.
And here is a huge hotel back here called the Park Hotel. And this caption on this picture, one of the oldest pictures, it says the first coal burner. Heretofore they had burned wood. Yeah, the first coal burner on the branch line, and the Park Hotel in the background. Now the branch line was the one that goes off there at the end of the regular railroad over there where Hawks and over in that area, it veers off and it goes, and it served to bring wood back and forth where they were cutting forest and such things.
For building
and so then we were chosen for things like Camp Forest came along, and it was a whole lot because of the fact that it was we had the railroad.
Because troops,
thousands of people came and went on the railroad. And a citizen here that we've honored at South Jackson, Sally Rhodes.
Right.
Sally was a young girl, and she is one of the only testaments in that I know of that said that she went back and forth from Atlanta to Nashville. She went to Ward Belmont to school.
From Ithaca, New York.
From Ithaca, New York, and her dad worked for a company that moved him around. And she was in school that far away, and she got on the train, and she said she remembered when they passed through Tullahoma because she was the only female in sight. Everything else was a sea of uniforms. Out on the platforms, in the cars, everything. And there she was, just a young girl trying to figure out how to get back to school. So if you can imagine looking out, standing where the railroad still is, that's still the main line, and seeing that, all of that bunch of folks coming and going.
Tullahoma has a rich history, and I love the fact that you've tried your best to preserve a lot of.
Well, we have to do, we have to do something,
right.
And this is the first little depot, and this painting was done by one of the Baylett ladies that the Art Center building is. Yeah, the Art Center building is the Baylett House.
If there happens to be somebody out there that has some memorabilia from that represents our city or region,
or an event here, we are open.
Bring it in and offer to either loan or give to the museum that you have.
Now the only thing that we do not do is appraisals.
Right.
Because if you take it off your income tax, that is between you and the IRS and a licensed appraiser. So that when you sign your form to give it to us and you've made that donation, we if they call us, we can say yes, it's here, but we cannot
You can't say what it's worth.
No, because that's between them and
the IRS,
licensed appraisers in Tennessee do that. So please come. We are going to. What's our next event?
I've got the performing arts season and the theater season here, and I guess the next July 9th is the Little Mermaid coming up. And I'll just do a little bit. July 9th, and we have South Jackson Goes Country in August. And July 22nd, we have the Ice Cream Social.
And we will be
museum
open.
Plans to be open.
We'll be open.
If you get a chance and you haven't seen one of these brochures, the entire theater season as well as the performing arts season is listed here.
Yes.
And then it's
look
time
out
for us
online.
to go, Blossom. You'll have
Call
to come
us.
back. There's so much to say. We didn't get it all said.
Oh, we didn't get it all said as usual.
Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more.
Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the paint. Uh-oh. I just knocked a tree over. This is the paint doctor. I got the color wheel. Now, you know what a color wheel is? It is the wheel that the paint works where you pick all your colors to paint your room. It could be a multicolored beard. It could be a underarm fan. You never can tell. One thing we do know is that it's time to paint. You know, you can make your wife very happy if you go to your house and paint some rooms, or you paint the outside of the house, the inside of the house. It makes them feel very good because you work hard for them and they like that. All women like to see their man sweat, you know? They do. Honeydew is what they do. And you get to do it too. So you go to the paintworks at 1960 North Washington Street and you see David Atkins over there, and he's the real paint doctor. He fix you up with color. It's so nice when the color is right. Go to Paintworks today. Martin Senior. See? Martin Senior. Right there. Martin Senior at the Paintworks. Bye, and we see you next time. I'm burning up.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Hey gang, good morning all you wonderful viewers from TV land. We're glad y'all stopped by a few moments to see and be part of the Millennium Moment. And again, I don't know how long that's going to last, but we got a lot more to come. And today we're going to center our thoughts on the Tullahoma, a wonderful Chamber of Commerce. And the picture that you see now is a photograph that evidently was taken of a welcoming committee of the Tullahoma Chamber of Commerce around the turn of the century, the last millennium. And the photographer was either Mr. Booth Staley or Sam Penn or Paul Pyle that's under that focusing cloth. You can't really identify him. It wasn't me because I was not around then, but I was looking forward to coming to Tullahoma, partly due to the great work of the Chamber of Commerce. They invite people to come and be a part of the Tullahoma community, and they're a great way to expound and advertise and be a part of the welcoming part of Tullahoma. The figure you see up here is part of Tullahoma's crack transportation system with the wagon and the donkey or mule or whatever the power is there to pull it. And it's a great place to be. Now, the Tullahoma Chamber of Commerce is not a part of the government, so there's a lot of volunteer work that goes into promoting Tullahoma and seeing that it goes forward. They welcome new people to Tullahoma. They take care of expanded business opportunities here. They help with employment and work and jobs and promote Tullahoma. And one of the things that's really important in Tullahoma that the Chamber does is to send out literature and spec sheets on new possibilities for opportunities to work and live here. Tullahoma has one of the finest school systems in the nation, and some of the graduates are the top people in scholarship. And as you know, this last season we had a 10-0 football record, which again enhances our community. Now, there's a new year. This 1999 is gone, and the new year has come, and I want to show you a photograph of the Chamber of Commerce's new president. This in her earlier years, but this is Candio, that's the new president, and I think she was probably testing some cereal food for the food industry at this time, because she is deep in a bottle of Heinz baby food some time ago. And switching gears just a little bit, I want to give you a quick preview of things to come. A year from this June, the Arnold Engineering Development Center is going to have a big celebration celebrating the inauguration and the dedication of Arnold Center that was dedicated in June the 25th, 1951. And we will hopefully have a big celebration. They tell us they're going to try to bring back those celebrities that were here before, like the president and the congressional delegation, and plans are being made a year in advance, and then they're going to have a big celebration the month before the celebration of the dedication, and then the weekend of June 24th, 25th, and 26th of 2001, have a big weekend celebration for the dedication of Arnold Center, and hopefully have a lot of people back for that. And we hope and pray that the weather will be good and be a lot of people to come back. And this is not the end of the story, because there's a lot more to come. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Partners for Healing provides medical care to the working uninsured of Coffee, Franklin, and Moore counties. We are in Tullahoma from 8 to 5, Monday through Thursdays, and in Manchester on Fridays from 8 to 12. We provide primary medical care and offer an in-house disease management program.
My name is Rosie Mitchell, and I would just like to say I am blessed to have partners in my life.
Please call 455-5014 for more information. Thank you for being one of our Partners for Healing.
Hello, this is Janie Price. When my husband Ray Price would tour across the country, his favorite place to dine was Cracker Barrel Old Country Store locations. His favorite thing to order was the Uncle Herschel.
And the beauty of it all is forever, you'll be holding me to.
I miss Ray dearly, and I'm so proud that his last album, Beauty Is, The Final Sessions, is available at his favorite restaurant.
A love affair.
The project includes a duet with Martina McBride and harmony vocals from Vince Gill. Ray believed this to be the best recording he had ever made.
Oh, I wish I was 18 again.
I think you'll agree when you pick up your copy of Beauty Is, The Final Sessions at a Cracker Barrel Old Country Store location near you, or at crackerbarrel.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, Peggy, we're back, and shoot, we've had a good day
We
today.
had some good people today.
I tell you what, you need to go get that book of Lee
What's the name of
Deckelman's.
The name of the book?
In volume, inside volume.
Inside volume.
Yeah.
Okay.
About turning down the sound.
Turning down
all the noise that we all, the clutter that we have in life, and
there's some huge messages
being mental
in there. Turning down the sound is really important.
It is.
And soaking in the beauty around us.
Do you have tinnitus? Do you hear
in my
things
ears?
in your ears?
I have had it. I had a huge issue with it when my son was born.
Yeah.
Or my daughter was born, and I would wake Raph up in the night and say, "Well, you go out and see what's making all that noise."
There's an airplane landing somewhere.
And it makes you dizzy. It makes you dizzy. It's horrible. What I had was, I think they call it labyrinthitis, but you're dizzy and your ears are ringing.
Right.
It's
so
horrible.
it's not good.
I'd set a
but
glass down and
hey,
miss
you're
the
good,
table.
and we're proud you were here with us today. Tell your friends to watch, and if y'all have anything you want to bring on the show and try to promote,
Give us
just
a call.
give us a call.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to have you. We'll see you next time.